In this video, we will explore adding functionality to the menus. As previously discussed, we created the menu structure, and now we'll add functionality to the menu items. In our previous video, we added functionality to the exit item under the file menu. The video for this will be in the video description below. In this video, we'll look at our options menu. We have chosen, by default, the stock ticker dice. These do not have color variations. So we want to have, by default, the color choices disabled. To do this, we add, by default, a disable command in the options. So before we add the colors to our options menu, we're going to disable them. To do this, color red dot set enabled false. We will copy and paste for the other two dice. And we'll change this to green, and we'll change this one to blue. Now when we run it, we will see that our color options have been disabled. If we choose a different type of die, we want to enable the colors. If we choose the stock ticker die, we want to disable the color options again. The options we have are not normal menu items, so they will need to be handled differently in regards to action events. When we created the menu items, we used var. In order to assign the action listeners to these, they need to be converted from var to an explicit type. We will also need to declare these globally so they can be accessed outside the add components method. We're going to select our variables. We're going to cut them from here. We're going to go up and declare them here. Now, because they're going to be global, the var doesn't work. We need to explicitly declare them. Copy the JRadio button menu item, and I'm going to paste it over the var. We'll do that for all three of these. Then I'm going to adjust my formatting. Now these are globally declared. And I'm going to do the same for our colors. Because if we add functionality to these, we'll have the same issue. Let's cut those out now and paste them back in here. They will also be radio button menu type. I'm just going to copy and paste that over the var. And then we'll do our formatting. So now they're globally declared. That means that we can add an action listener to perform an action based on which menu item, JRadio button menu item we choose. First, we will need to add implements action listener to the class. So after extends JFrame, add implements action listener. Don't forget to add your import. Now we will add our override for actions performed. So it's at override public void action performed action event. Now we want to differentiate this from other events. So these are menu events. So we're going to call it menu event. Because we're working with objects, we will need to use nested if statements. So if menu event dot get source equals, and our first die is die type 1. We want to disable our colors. So color blue dot set enabled false. Color green dot set enabled false. Color red dot set enabled false. Okay. So if we choose the stock ticker die from the option menu, it should disable all of our colors. Now for the rest of the dies, if we choose them, we want the colors re-enabled. So the code is else if menu event dot get source equals die type 2. We're going to copy and paste these in, and we're going to change it to true. Then we're going to, for our third type, else if menu event get source equals by type 3, we want to enable them. I'll just copy and paste that in. Now we have our actions for those menus, but we need to add the action listeners to the menu items. With our die types, before we add them to the group, we want to go in and die type 1, add action listener, and paste that down, change 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. Now if we compile this and run it, you can see by default our first option is the stock ticker dice and the colors are disabled. So if we chose the standard dice, we would now see that the colors are enabled. If we chose the stock ticker dice, the colors are disabled. But if we chose the D20 die, the colors are re-enabled. We want to add a visual representation of choosing dice types and or colors. To do this, we've added code based off of a random dice game by ASMR Programming. The link to the video will be in the description below. We won't focus on this code as it is beyond the scope of this video. We will have 3 different dice options in 3 different panels. For the color options, we will need a way of tracking the current color. We will be doing this using a string variable. we will declare the string variable here, string default color. To help keep track of our current dye color, we are going to give each dye color a constant. To do this, private static final string blue dye equals blue. Private static final string green dye equals green. And finally, private static final string red dye equals red. Our next step is to actually declare a value for our default color. To do that, we'll go down to our constructor and down to where we have our dice declarations. We are going to give default color declaration of green dye. Now that we have our default color set up, we'll go down to our action performed, and you'll notice we'll have our color set up, and one of the we've created a method called set default color. So if in your options menu you chose blue, it would set our default color to blue. If you chose red, it would change it to red, and if it was green, we would change it to green. We're going to call it private because we don't want anything outside of this class to access it. Void set default color, and we're going to pass it our color, and then we're just going to change our default color equal to our color. So now we'll compile it, and we didn't get any errors, so let's run it. Okay, now you see under our options menu, if we have our stock ticker dice displayed, our colors are disabled, and you can see our stock ticker dice. If we chose standard dice, it would change for standard dice, and because our default option is green, they're green. So if we choose red, we see red. If we choose blue, we see blue. So if we go to our D20 die, because our last option was blue, we now see blue. We can go to green, and we can go to red. Now the cool thing about this is, if we roll the die, we can see that it actually rolls the die. It gives us a random number. Same with our standard die and our stock ticker die. Next up, we'll look at building the About menu. Finally, we will add functionality to the About menu. For this, we have created a class called About menu. We have used our frame template for this class. There are a few changes that we made to it. First, our default width is now 500. We have given it the title of Die Explanations for the title bar. We are using Dispose on Close instead of Exit on Close. If we were to use Exit on Close when we close the About menu, it would close the whole application. Dispose on Close will only close the About menu. And finally, we are using a different icon for this frame. Now we have added to the body a panel, and we've added a label with the title called title, and it will have the value of die explanations. And we've added that to our pane and to our frame. There are two ways that we can add functionality to the About menu. The first way is similar to the way that we've added functionality to the Exit item under the File menu. Let's try that now. We're going to use our About action equals new abstract and we're going to give it the name About. Now this will override the action performed. So we put in our override. Public void action performed, and it's an action event, and we're going to call this one About menu display. So when this is called, we want to call the constructor of our About menu About menu, and then we're going to give our variable the name of display About menu equals new About menu. Now, because this is an action and we want to assign it to a menu item, we can't use this var About menu item here. We have to call it directly. We're just going to comment that out. And we can't declare it before About action because the About action has to be declared first. So we're going to call this menu item. We're just going to call it About item, keeping with the naming, equals help menu dot add About action. Spelling there, corrected. Okay. Now, in our when we originally created the menu item, we gave it the name About, and we gave it a hotkey of A. With this method of using an action, we are unable to give it that A. If we compile this now and run it, go to our About menu, it will open up our About menu. Everything looks fine. However, we can't use the quick key for it. And there is no underline under the A anymore. So this does work, but if we want it to have that A, we have to do this a different way. So let's get rid of this code. And we'll do it another way. So first off, we have to go up to our global declarations. And we'll create a global declaration under Help menu, Declarations. Keep everything separate. In global declarations, we can't use var. We have to call out the specific declaration. So it's J menu item. And we're going to call it out item. Okay? Now, we want to come back down to where we commented out the about item, and we want to remove that var because we've already declared it as a global variable. So now we can declare it, and it allows us to use the A. So what we'll do is, if we want to add functionality, we have to add an action listener. So it's just about item dot add action listener, and we want to use action listener this. Okay, and finally we go down to where we have our action listeners actions, and at the bottom we just add an else if menu event get source equals, in this case here it's called about item. We want to call about item display about menu equals new about menu. Now that will call, sorry, not about item, it's about menu. Now that will call the constructor for about menu. So if we compile this and run it, if we go under our help menu, we see that the hotkey is still there. And if we click on about, we get our about menu. And when we close the about menu, obviously the program is still functioning. So if we click on the help menu and then press Alt A, it will bring up a hotkey. So if we were going to add a mnemonic to the help menu, we would add the command help menu set mnemonic, and we're going to put H character. So if we compile this, we run it, we'll see that the help menu now has the H mnemonic highlighted. You can press Alt H A, which will bring open the about menu. Another option that we can do is that we can add an accelerator to the about menu. All you'd have to do is press the key combination in the accelerator and it would open up that menu directly. Now this accelerator only works for menu items. Now to add an accelerator to a menu item, you would use the command about item dot set accelerator, and we want keystroke dot get keystroke And we are going to get the keystroke CTRL for control, and we'll use the capital A. So if we compile that, then we run it, all we have to do is press the control key and A, and the menu appears. In the we go into the help menu, you can see the accelerator beside the menu item. So that's menus and adding functionality to menus. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving me a like and subscribe to my channel for future content.